button, it'll be about 30 seconds.
All right, so we are going to broadcast this on YouTube tonight.
All right,
We
okay.
also have a go-to-meeting set up where the applicant could not attend, but we're going to experiment, and he is live right now on microphone. So he can see our screen, and he can hear us, and he can communicate to the TV, or through the laptop.
Okay.
Technology, new technology.
Yeah. So we're starting the meeting at 5:30, not the work session?
No, the work session is
Right.
what we'll jump into right now, and then at 6, we'll
Okay.
go ahead and do it. So the applicant tonight is Sanjay Parekh, and he lives in the Willbrook neighborhood, the one that's kind of adjacent to downtown here off of McClure Bridge. Mr. Parekh, he came to Bill, probably 6 months ago now, with plans to reinvest in his house. He's the original owner, I think since 1999. And Sanjay wanted to do a small addition to the front of his house, basically make the foyer a little bigger, and then to add a mudroom area to the kind of once you enter from the garage. To do that, that results in a 5-foot expansion off the front of the house, which goes into the front setback. In the Willbrook neighborhood, the front setback is 25 feet. And you'll see this from in your staff packet, but I'll kind of go over it during the presentation. He lives on a cul-de-sac, and not only does he live on the cul-de-sac, his house is where the cul-de-sac kind of bulbs out. So his neighbors all get a true 25-foot setback, and then his gets massively kind of adjusted and eaten in from the bulb out. So he is asking for a reduction to 20 feet, and I'll show you the intrusion into the 25-foot setback as it currently is. It's pretty minimal, and I show you that on an aerial picture, and I circle it on a little site plan. So staff is recommending approval with the condition that he develops it according to the site plan that he submitted. Kind of what we were thinking was, one, if he lived in any other house in the neighborhood besides one that is located where the cul-de-sac starts to bulb out, he wouldn't even need to come to us. He wouldn't need a variance because his house is set far enough back. 2, even with his proposed variance, he's not going to be any closer to the road than his neighbors are. So he's not going to stick out any further. You're not going to notice any sort of kind of undulation from house to house to house. So furthermore, it's a goal of the comprehensive plan in the core neighborhood district, which is where Willbrook is located, to encourage reinvestment. So it doesn't go against the comp plan. We feel like he does actually have an unusual hardship because of the way that the right-of-way bumps out right there. So we are recommending approval. Do you guys have any questions or on the process or the application itself or anything like that?
Yeah, I got a question.
Yeah.
In your background, in the paragraph for background, I think you got a wrong word in there, the second sentence, I guess.
Okay.
Has it been no changes? You got been do,
There do change, yes, sir.
it's no? Okay,
There have been no changes to the program.
that's what I thought. Okay, thank you.
Is there an HOA in Willbrook?
Yes, there is.
Yeah.
Needy Gajar, she's our, by the way, I
Yeah.
should have
Yeah.
introduced our members, I'm
Yeah.
sorry. Needy Gajar, she is also the secretary of the planning commission. So Alana Moss, who was our member on the ZBA, that was also our member on the planning commission. Alana is now the vice chairperson. Needy is the secretary, so her other role as that is to be a member of ZBA. She
Oh.
lives in Willbrook.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
And then Mr. Patrick Lynch, he
Hello.
is our new, you live in Old Town Residences?
The Glens at Old Town.
Glenn's at Old Town. And you
Yeah.
somewhat new to Duluth, right?
2 years.
2 years, okay. So he expressed an interest to be on one of our boards, so we
Yeah,
We welcome you all.
yeah, thanks.
Thank
But
you.
yes, there is an HOA.
And they approve? Or do they review this? Because normally, wouldn't this be like an HOA first before it went to zoning?
Well, that's not the city's purview because we can't enforce any sort of private
Right.
covenant.
Right.
I would suspect that they would have to get HOA approval.
Yeah,
Right.
But,
Yeah.
I guess if they say yes and we say no, it doesn't happen. If
Okay.
we say yes and they say no, it
Right.
doesn't happen. So.
okay.
Yeah.
Sanjay,
Yeah,
have you gone to your HOA yet?
not yet. We were thinking that the best path of the process would be to do this first,
Okay.
because if you all say no, then it doesn't move forward at all. If the HOA says no, we could probably adjust and figure it out with them. So we figured that this is the more critical path to getting this done.
Okay,
Oh,
thanks.
that's good.
How long does it normally take their HOA to approve something like this?
Sanjay,
Better.
have you ever gone, or Needy, have you ever gone through a HOA?
No.
No.
Okay, all right.
I've done it once with the house. We were changing some stuff on the front of the house, and I think it was about 30 days.
Okay.
And so this would just be the, kind of the land use approval. He would still have to submit plans to the city and get building
Right.
permits from us and things like that.
Okay.
I think HOA has sort of a palette for your exterior architectural character, like the windows and colors of the roof and planting and those kind of things. But I think this is more of a, I think it's more of a development issue.
Yeah, the HOA can add to what the city states, but they cannot take away.
Right.
Any other questions or comments on that? If not, we also have the elections of our officers for this board. Just to refresh everyone's memory, well, actually, this is our first meeting without Chairman Fisher, who is now
Right.
on the Planning Commission. So the mayor in March, Bill, was it March, appointed Marlene as the chairperson of the ZBA, or March meeting. So Marlene was our vice chair. She's now our chair. So tonight, we need to vote for a vice chairperson and a secretary. The vice chair fills in for the chair and runs the meeting in the absence of the chair. So that's the main responsibility of the vice chairperson. And then the secretary runs the meeting if both the chair and the vice chair are absent, and then also just witnesses, signs the minutes.
Okay.
How that will work is Chairman Santiago Cook will announce that she'll take nominations for the vice chair. If someone nominates someone, she'll ask for a second, and then you all will vote. So feel free to discuss now if anyone feels led to be the vice chair. Yeah, I already- oh, okay.
Anybody?
No.
I have no idea what.
Well, you can.
Okay, Ken?
Can.
Okay,
I can try it.
Okay.
so Ken for vice chair.
And
So we
again,
need somebody
this
to
is-
make the nomination.
Yeah, during the actual meeting, we'll have to make
Okay.
it official. And then the second.
Secretary?
Yeah, and then the secretary, that's just signing the minutes.
Right.
Why not?
Okay.
Okay.
Did you all happen to look at the minutes? Do you see any changes or typos or anything like that anything jump out at you?
I did not see any issues with it.
Okay. That'll do it for the business portion of the work session. Bill is going to give a development update of kind of what's going on around the city.
That looks familiar.
Excuse me?
That looks familiar.
Yes, exactly. So Needy's actually her day job, which is not doing ZBA and planning commission. She's doing planning and design work for Lord Sargent. They're the team that did the design on the library, the city of Duluth, Winter County. So I'll give a really quick update on a couple projects that you guys are likely familiar with, either that are about to break ground under construction or are under construction.
Can we take a minute
Absolutely.
with the statement that you just made related to the day job and the participation on the boards? Is there a conflict of interest in any way? Any case where she would have to recuse herself because of something going on before the board?
No, not that I can think of off the top of my head. There would only be a conflict of interest if she had a direct financial gain from a particular project. So on anything we're hearing tonight, there wouldn't be, and if we ever approach a situation like that, because there's so many unique situations,
Right.
we would absolutely identify that ahead of time.
Right.
Okay. Thanks.
Yeah, and I'm also an AICP planner, so as per the code of ethics, if I see any of the kind of conflict of interest, then I would accuse myself. So I have to maintain that certification too, so. I know.
Okay. Thanks.
So for the purpose of tonight, I just have a couple slides just to give a quick update on these. So the first, the library, which if you're not familiar with that yet, it's right next to the Calaboose on Main Street. They have been trying to go vertical for about the last 6 weeks now, but there's a slight issue that we feel as though, as of today, we got confirmation from Norfolk Southern that they are going to go ahead and release the permit. There is a pressurized gas line that goes under the railroad tracks and directly under their building foundation that we've been trying to get a right-of-way permit. Well, I say we as in the group, the library, the contractor, the city of Duluth, to allow that line to be relocated. We got confirmation that it is going to get relocated. It was simply a permit that would allow AGL to relocate the line. So as soon as that line gets relocated in the next week or so, you'll start to see that building come up pretty quickly because they've gone about as far as they can on site work without starting the building construction. That building is anticipated to look similar to that by about December of this year and open for occupancy around March of next year. This is the Courtyard by Marriott Hotel. I was fortunate enough to be able to take some time earlier this week and go tour the facility. It's the first time I've been up there since they framed the 4th level. But essentially what you're looking at is a 2-story parking deck with a 2-story hotel on top of it. They anticipate getting the parking deck CO'd next month as soon as Georgia Power will come and set their transformers. And then the building itself will be entirely CO'd and occupied by hotel stayers starting starting May of 2021. So about a year from now, that building will be occupied. The Everly project, if you drive down Hill Street right past the hotel, you'll see these 2 very large concrete structures coming up, practically finished by this point. Those are the elevator shafts. So now that the elevator shafts have been constructed, you'll start to see that building going up pretty quickly over by the South on Main project at Hill Street. The Annabelle on Main, if you've been on Main Street anytime recently, you've seen that they poured all the foundation and slabs out in that general area. So these are all in a very similar construction phase. They've pretty much done all their rough utilities, under slab utilities and plumbing, site electrical, graded the site, formed the foundation. So over the next several weeks, you're going to see several of these buildings start to go vertical, and our building official will be very busy with this framing inspections.
Yeah.
What is the commercial that's in front of it?
Excuse me?
The commercial building that's in front of that?
Yes, so that's Lidl, and
That is, okay.
that parcel has been sold to Lidl, and Lidl has received all the permits that they need to move forward, and they anticipate getting that project and starting construction the first week of September. The building next to it, as we'll get to a little bit later, there's also another commercial building next to it, so there's 2 commercial buildings that are on Peachtree Industrial, and then the residential building is set behind it. That building right there, this parcel was acquired by a doctor. The doctor has submitted plans, and we've provided that doctor with comments. They intend that to be a 3-tenant building where the doctor's office would be the anchor tenant, and then they're designing it as also a retail space for a small retail tenant, and then also a restaurant tenant. This project here is 1.7 acres. It is the project where the 2 white homes used to be on Hardy Street and Main Street in downtown. It's right next to where the old church was on Hardy. That was originally purchased and developed by Home South Communities. Lennar had an option to purchase it, but Lennar did not purchase it. My understanding is it's due to the cost of the land being so expensive for 1.5 acres. But Home South Communities has since entered into a contract with a company called Stanley Garden Homes. And these are the plans that they've submitted to build in that area that do meet the requirements for the central business district. So that will be 20 additional homes, which will be directly across from the library at the intersection of Hardy and Main Street. These are the homes that at Gardendale, where you have Howell Street and Duluth Highway. If you can imagine, if you're walking out of Rainbow Village, it's directly across from Rainbow Village area, across from Duluth Highway. So this project here, when City Council approved this project to be built, really the great part about it, in the staff's opinion, is it pushed the envelope further down Duluth Highway, where we had a lot of vacant structures and older office buildings. It helped us accomplish our goal of getting 2,000 housing units within walking distance to downtown, as well as taking some undesirable, underutilized buildings and converting them into residential structures. This is the Grace Lawn project. This is the one that was approved about 1.5 years ago by the Providence Group. It's right on Main Street across from the Heights at Sugarloaf. If you went out there right now, you'll see that about a week ago they started framing their model homes. We went out today with our reviewing engineer from Pond Engineering, Pond & Co., and walked the site, and we'll provide them with their comments on some just some things that need to be repaired before they get their full plat recorded. But they're at the phase now where they have their model permits, and as soon as we get their plat recorded, we'll allow them to start building homes out there. This is a project that was approved by City Council by a builder named SR Homes. They are closing on the commercial, it used to be commercial property, now it's zoned residential behind Cody's Sports Bar. That was a piece of commercially zoned land that's now been converted to a residential property. And they called Dan actually this week and in an intent to get their permission to start go ahead and submitting for their land development permits. As soon as they get their LDP, part of their contract is they'll close with the landowner.
Is that the one right in between that doctor's office or complex?
It's so if you look at the doctor's office, it's between the doctor's office
And
the
Tony's.
Riverfront subdivision.
Okay.
The Encore project, this is the one that we worked with them for at least 1.5 years, a little bit longer than 1.5 years. The developer for this is Ashton Woods. It originally started as 975 housing units, which included 450 apartments, and then other than that, primarily attached units and smaller footprint units. It did not meet the comprehensive plan, which called for a much lower density and no apartments. So staff was able to get them from 975 down to 465 for the housing, which comes in roughly about 3 units per acre, which is in line with the comprehensive plan. Starting back at the river, these are all 100-foot wide minimum lots on the river, much larger homes, and working to a denser product up along Peachtree Industrial, transitioning from low density to medium density. Ashton Woods closed on that property at the end of February, and they did have an approved land development permit for the clearing, grubbing, and grading, but not the full LDP. We were holding on to that until they got permission from DOT to get their signalized intersection here. And during that process and during the mobilizing start grading, COVID hit, and they actually did not start construction until about 2 weeks ago. So they called us out of the blue after basically saying that they didn't know when they'd start because they were basically scaling back on everything until they understood how home sales were going to be and how that would affect their development. But 2 Fridays ago, we did meet them on site. There's about 25 contractors out there because this is a huge site. And we had an hour-long pre-con meeting with them, and then we released them to start their work last week. So 2 weeks ago. So if you went out there today, you would see truck traffic and bulldozers and excavators. It's a very exciting site. Very large site as well. In addition to those, we talked about the Lidl site and the Bethel Center site, the doctor's office next to those. In downtown, we have a couple of new tenants that you'll see over the next several weeks. The Fallen Rabbit is a chef-driven restaurant. They've acquired the Pastorium that is at West Lawrenceville and Phil Street, the old stone building next to Maple Street Biscuit Company. And they have started construction on that project. So the chef, it will be an owner-occupied restaurant, which is very exciting to the city because generally speaking, people that purchase their own buildings are here for the long run, not 5-year, 3 or 5-year lease. So they're building that out as a chef-driven restaurant that the chef anticipates that he'll have most of his items will be locally sourced, organic type food. So it'll be a different experience than other things we have in downtown. Success Brewery, which is right there on Main Street. That is a very cool concept that we're very excited to get open. They received their permit about a year ago, and then their contractor convinced them to have a rooftop patio as well. So the owner said, yes, I want a rooftop patio, which is a great idea. But it really delayed them in being able to finish the construction. But earlier this week, we approved a lane closure. So on yesterday, they closed down Main Street for a couple hours, had a crane come out, set all the equipment in the restaurant, put the equipment on the rooftop units. They'll be able now to finish the roof. And they're going to be looking to do a partial CO so they can go ahead and start brewing and then serve beer out of cups in the back of the restaurant. They'll have a serving window. So we're working with them on that. Right there on Main Street, it's going to be really cool. There's another one called Harper Row, which will also be on Main Street in West Lawrenceville, where the Mediterranean Cafe used to be. As you probably know, there was a fire a couple months ago. That restaurant has decided that they are not going to reoccupy the space. Their lease was almost at end, so they did not redo their lease, and there will be a clothing store will be coming in that will be for women's apparel. So that's called Harper Row, and then there's another one called Nailed It. So you might know this, you might not. I'm going to go quick because we only have 5 minutes left. There is a space that is underneath Maple Street this evening. You probably don't know that. And it is a very cool space to the right user. And Nailed It is this company that kind of do like the art companies we have on Main Street, where you and your friends can go there and you can rent some space, and we'll show you how to do a painting or do pottery or do these other things. What Nailed It does is you can either go there if you're a guy and you live in a townhome, so you don't necessarily have the space to do a project you want to do, like build a bookshelf or something like that. Or if you're in a group of friends that might say, hey, this Friday night, let's go to Nailed It and, do a project.
Yeah.
They basically, you can go in there and they have templates and other things you can work on, or you can kind of do your own thing. But the idea is that you'll go there and they'll have all the tools that you need and supervision that you need and plans that you need to do these cool DIY projects that you can come home and say, hey, look at this shelf. I built this shelf. Kind of thing. So I think it's a cool concept. It's new. It's different. The South on Main project, which is in downtown, right at the other end of Hardy, where the townhomes and the single-family homes are built by Lennar, that project has been 100% permitted, so they expect to be done and out of there in the next 3 months. And then the Sherwood Crossing project, which is on Buford Highway behind the police station, they've also obtained 100% of their permits, so they're on the last phase of that project. And they'll be finished with that in the next couple of months as well. 2 more things I just want to quickly share with you. One of them is, even prior to the whole COVID pandemic, as staff, we had really been pushing forward with changing our software to make it more customer friendly and efficient for contractors and citizens and everyone. When I say software, I mean department-wide, so that's licensing, that's permitting, that's reviews, that's inspections, that's code enforcement, everything. And the software we had been using for years did not really meet our needs. It was more of an accounting software that had to be development-based software. So we've transitioned to iWork. You'll see that in our upcoming article of Duluth Life, as well as all over our website. So we now use a software called iWork. So if you guys have any issues where you need the city's assistance, whether it's code enforcement or license compliance or a permit or review, or you just want to kind of go look at it, it's really cool software. It's super user-friendly, but it's on our website. And then lastly, for the new users, because we do have a public hearing tonight, we did put this in front of you. You should have these kind of the way that the public hearings run. Very briefly, the first thing that will happen is the chairman will call the staff to do a very brief presentation. Dan will come up and do a very brief presentation. It'll be similar to what he did during the work session, but with slides. After that, the applicant will be afforded an opportunity to speak. So we do have Sanjay over the microphone, so he'll have an opportunity to speak. Then we'll open it up, the chairman will open it up to a public hearing. So essentially you'll say, now we'll start the public hearing. Then we'll allow people to speak in favor or opposition. I don't see any tonight, but we have had crowds before, so just in the future, that's how it goes. Then the public hearing will be closed. At that point, there will be no more comments from the general public, but there will be a discussion among members of the ZBA. So at that time, you will be able to say, you know, those were good points, these are my thoughts, what do y'all think? At that time, you can call on staff members, you can call on the applicant, but it is no longer an opportunity for the residents to engage in conversation with the members of the ZBA or the planning commission, which I know it's always very difficult to tell someone in the crowd, I'm sorry, but your opportunity to speak is passed, but that really helps limit disruption in an organized meeting. After the discussion, the chairman will call for a motion, and a member from the zoning board will make a motion to approve, to deny, to modify. There's several other motions, but generally speaking, most of the time it's approve as presented, leave modifications, table the hearing until a later date, or deny it. So, and also, one of the things that we'll talk about during training, we really wanted to do training, especially for the new members, but unfortunately with COVID, we could not find an opportunity between the meeting in February where members were appointed and then the first meeting in March when you guys took effect. It would not have made a whole lot of sense while City Hall was shut down to have a meeting where we talked about public hearings. So, but we will get that training in the very near future. So with that, Chairman, I will turn it over to you whenever you're ready to start the meeting.
Okay. Good evening. I call to order the May 27 meeting of the City of Duluth Zoning Board of Appeals. Members present are Bertie Avila, Ken Wilson, and we do have 2 new members of the board, so if you can please tell us your name.
Neeti Gajar.
Patrick Lynch.
Thank you. And I'm the new chairperson, Marlene Santiago Cook. At this point, I see that there is nothing listed on the general business. Is that correct, staff?
Yes, it is.
So we're moving on very quickly to the approval of the minutes from the previous meeting. Did everybody have a chance to review the minutes from January 22nd? Everybody have any correction or changes? In that case, is there a motion to approve the minutes from the January 22nd, 2020 meeting?
Motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Yes.
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 I vote yes. At this point, the minutes from the previous meeting are approved. Is everything okay? Okay. On to the new business. We have one case, and that is V 2020-002. Staff, please present.
Thank you, Ms. Chair. The applicant tonight is Sanjay Parekh. The address is 3333 Wilbridge Court. That's in the Willbrook neighborhood. The request is a variance to allow for a reduction in the front yard setback from 25 feet to 20 feet. On the screen there, this is an aerial. You can see the subject property is highlighted in yellow. And here's a zoomed in picture of the street. This black line here that I'm highlighting here in red, this is the front property line. So when we talk about front yard setbacks, we're not actually talking about from the curb, okay? Because that's part of the right-of-way. You have the sidewalk, that's all right-of-way. When we talk about front yard setback, it's from this red line here. It's from the actual front property line. And in the Willbrook neighborhood, that minimum front setback is 25 feet. So you can see that the houses on the street are all meeting the current setback. And you can also see on Mr. Parekh's property, you can see that his house is right where the cul-de-sac begins to bulb out. And so what you can see is that severely kind of limits his front yard. Now, what I want to show you in this is kind of use your imagination. That let's pretend this was like most of the streets in the neighborhood, where it's a straight street, it's not a cul-de-sac, and let's just pretend for the sake of argument that bulb is not there from the cul-de-sac. This is basically what it would look like. So you can see here how far back Mr. Parek's house is currently from the minimum setback. And I would also like to point out, if you can see the front of the garage, and if you look at the neighbor up the street, you can see that the neighbor's house is closer to the street than his house. So keep that in mind. I'll come back to that later in the findings. But what I want to point out is even with an expansion to the front of Mr. Parek's house, it's not going to be closer to the street than his neighbors currently are. So this is a zoomed in site plan. The proposed addition is that area that's hatched in red. And you can see it says 25BL. That's the 25-foot building line. That's what I just highlighted right there. So that's currently what his setback is. And so here I just zoomed in a little more so you can see how much of an encroachment here that we're talking about. It's really just this area right here. So it's basically a 4.5-foot intrusion or encroachment into that front setback. And again, this front setback is kind of distorted because of just where his property happens to be on the cul-de-sac. So currently, the edge of his house, is, if you can see here, it's 35 feet from the property line. And it's 32 feet currently from the property line. So it's behind, it's further back than the minimum. So when staff was evaluating what our recommendation would be, we have a list of kind of criteria that's listed in the UDC of you know, what should be present on a site to recommend approval. And one of the things is that it needs to be a unique situation and not a situation that was caused by the applicant. And in this case, the applicant's property is unusual compared to almost all other in the neighborhood in that it's located at the beginning of the cul-de-sac. Furthermore, if the subject property was located just on a normal street or on a straight street, no variance would be needed because his house is far enough back that even with the proposed addition, he still would be outside of that 25-foot setback. And again, I mentioned this prior, but the proposed addition would not make the home any closer to the street than any other house in the neighborhood. So it won't be out of character. You won't drive down the street and think, wow, that house is a lot closer to the street than all the other ones are. It will blend in. And then finally, Forward Duluth, which is our comprehensive plan, encourages reinvestment into existing homes in the core neighborhood character area. The core neighborhood character area is the group of neighborhoods that surround the downtown area. It's not a homogeneous group of neighborhoods. You have, if you think like the Pinecrest neighborhood or the Hill neighborhood or Hall Circle neighborhood, those are kind of more built in the 40s and 50s. Then you have Willbrook that is built in the 90s. So it's not all the same, but we do want to encourage reinvestment in those neighborhoods. And so what the applicant's proposing is a reinvestment. He is the original owner of the house. He doesn't want to move, so he is trying to reinvest in his house, which is a long way of saying it is in alignment with the goals, with the stated goals and approved goals of the comprehensive plan. So as with any variance, you have some choices when it comes to your vote tonight. Approval with condition, approval with modification, to deny or to table. Staff, we are recommending approval with condition, which is that the applicant develop the property in accordance with the site plan that he provided. So not to go further, or excuse me, not to go closer to the road than what he was showing, not to go wider. Basically, the applicant needs to build the expansion as shown to you all, this board, the ZBA. So we are recommending approval with that condition. So that's it for my presentation. I can answer any questions that you might have.
When you mentioned that the 25-foot setback was applicable to this subdivision, does that mean that we don't have standard setback for all of the subdivisions in the city of Duluth?
No, that's a good question. So all zoning districts have setbacks. This zoning district, or this neighborhood is in a PUD, a planned unit development. With planned unit developments, each development can have a different setback. So when this was rezoned back in the early 90s, when the developer was creating the plan, the developer said that I want to propose 25-foot setbacks, and that was approved as part of the rezoning. Other residential districts like R100, which is in kind of our older neighborhoods, that setback is 50 feet. But all zoning districts have setbacks.
Okay, and those are based on the recommendations of the developer then? And approved by the council?
For planned unit development, during the rezoning process, they submit a proposed site plan.
Okay.
They could, like in a townhome neighborhood, the front setback might be 5 feet. In a single-family detached neighborhood, it could be 25 feet. It could be 16 feet or 19 feet. Whatever kind of works for that particular project. When it's approved, the city council will say, among other conditions of approval, one of which would be it would be developed per the site plan Exhibit B, and on that site plan it would say, for this neighborhood, it's going to be 16-foot setbacks, or 20 or 25.
Okay. Any other questions?
No.
If there are no other questions, then I will close the portion of the presentation from the staff and then open up for the public hearing. This is a bit different since we don't have anybody here present, but we did send out the link so the people have joined. I do not believe we have anybody for opposition. Okay. Do we have somebody in favor? I believe the applicant is on the line.
Sanjay?
Yeah.
Sanjay, it's, if you want to add anything or say anything, now's your chance.
Yeah, so I didn't hear the little bit in between there, but yeah, I think you mentioned that we're the original owners of the house. We've been here since 99 when the house was new. You know, I think, sorry, I'm getting feedback on myself, so it's a little bit distracting. You know, we love the neighborhood. We love the little parklet that we have now, so that connects us into downtown. And so we're just looking to make sure that the house can keep serving the needs that we have. And one of the things of having a mudroom, especially given what's going on right now, would be actually really useful for us. So would appreciate the consideration of the board for letting us do this.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Sanjay.
Okay, we don't have anybody else for comments, so I will close the public hearing and open it up for discussion on the board. Any comments or questions?
Just a question to Sanjay that he's mentioned in the letter submitted as part of the package that he will go back to the homeowners association and the extension will be built in accordance with the HOA guidelines, architectural guidelines. So that's something, you know, again, on his part, he will be doing that after this is approved.
That's correct.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
I guess I got a question then on that. That doesn't have to be part of the conditions in here for the city then?
No, no,
Okay.
because the city does not and cannot enforce private covenants.
So the only thing we're doing here is the 25-foot?
Correct. We are not.
No,
That's correct.
no architectural, whatever,
That's up
okay.
to the HOA.
Right.
That's really up to the HOA architectural to approve it or disapprove it. So
Right.
at least he would have the approval from the city.
Correct.
Right. So there will still be a permit that is required for the building.
That's correct. So if you were all to approve this request tonight, he would, I assume, go to his HOA. Again, that's kind of out of the purview of the city. But if he got that approval as well, he would submit building plans to the city, and our building official would review the plans
Okay.
and permit them.
Ready? So I believe that we're ready for a vote. Well, we're ready to entertain a motion first. Do we have a motion?
I'll motion on case V 2020-002 that we approve with conditions.
Do we have a second?
I second it.
All right.
At this time, we'll do a roll call. We'll go and state your name and your vote, please.
Patrick Lynch, yes.
Neeti Gajar, I approve it with condition.
Ken Wilson, yes.
Verdi Avila, yes.
Marlene Santiago Cook, yes. The motion is approved, and it was approved with conditions stated by the city. Next item on the agenda, it is to elect the vice chair. At this point, we have new members, and we start a new year, so we go through the process of appointing new officers. So the vice chair responsibilities, staff.
Yeah, so the vice chairperson's responsibility is to conduct and run the meeting in the absence of Chairperson Santiago Cook. So if she's unable to make it, the vice chair will be the one that presides over the meeting
Okay.
and signs the minutes as well in her absence.
Okay. Do we have a nomination for the vice chair?
I nominate Ken Wilson.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay. At this point, we'll do the process again for the roll call. Please state your name and how you vote.
Patrick Lynch, yes.
Neeti Gajar, yes.
Verdi Avila, yes.
Marlene Santiago Cook, yes.
And Mr. Wilson?
Ken Wilson, yes.
Well, I guess we should have asked him if he accepted the nomination, but he's voluntold. He accepted the nomination. The next item will be to appoint the secretary. So the staff, please, what are the duties of the secretary?
Thank you. Yes, so the secretary runs the meeting in the unlikely occurrence where the chairperson and vice chairman are both absent. The secretary also is the witness on the minutes, so they sign the minutes along with the chairperson.
So I will entertain a nomination for the secretary.
I'll nominate, and I may get your name wrong, Verdi Avila. Is that good?
Yes.
Okay.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, so you accept the nomination?
I do.
Okay, once again, let's vote for the secretary.
Patrick Lynch, yes.
Neeti Gajar, yes.
Ken Wilson, yes.
Verdi Avila, yes.
Marlene Santiago Cook, yes. So at this point, we have secretary and we have a vice chair. So we have, moving on to other business, do we have any matters from the board?
No.
Any matters from the staff?
Nothing more from us.
And we don't have any other citizens, so no further business. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second.
All of those in favor, say aye.
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 Meeting adjourned. I'll have a gavel.
All right. Nice first meeting.
I know.
Well done, guys.